Haribol, Haribol. So Tuesday, 25th of September, 2024 still. And we're going through our Gopi Gita. We're in the introduction. So we'll have a short kirtan and then we'll head into it. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Oh Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Girivardhari Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivardhari Jaya Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachariya Yamuna Tira Vanacharya O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari O Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Jaya Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Sachinandan, Jaya Gaura Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Garanga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Madhav Ju Ki Jai Varishabhanu Nandini Vajeshwari Radharani Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Srila Jacchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Baladevi Dibhushan Gaudi Varantharacharya Ki Jai Jai Srila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Traya Ki Jai Jai Srila Krishnas Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Kashi Rup Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Sri Jiva Gopal Bhattadasa Raghunath Sad Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Swarab Damodar Rai Ramananda Gaura Parsada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sigaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Antadvip Mayapur Simantadvip Gautrandvip Madhyadvip Koldadvip Ritudvip Janadvip Modamdvip Rudradvip Atmakanavadvip Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Govardhan Dwadasavar Matmika Shri Brajamandal Ki Jai Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ganga Jamuna Devi Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shrimati Brinda Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shrimati Yogamaya Purnamasi Devi Maharani Ki Jai Shri Gopishwar Mahadev Ki Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ki Jai Ketra Mandal Ki Jai Sarva Vigna Vanasa Karishina Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Bhakta Parva Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Charidam Ki Jai Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai Chari Acharya Ki Jai Akara Mataraj Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai Shri Keshav Ji Gaudiya Mat Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagat Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaud Premanande Hari Hari Bol Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha
Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Namo Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Priya Swarupe Taita Swarupe Prema Swarupe Sahajiva Rupe Nijana Rupe Prabhuika Rupe Tatana Rupe Swavilasa Rupe Anapita Chirim Chirat Kuruna Vartano Kalo Samarapaitam Unnata Ujvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundarata Tikatamba Sadipita Sada Hridare Kandare Swadatu Vasachinandanaha Yam Pravajantam Anapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putre Titam Mayatayotravo Binidustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vina Aparada Lakshay Shiptascha Karmadi Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanadavindam Bhajami Radham Aravinda Netram Smarami Radham Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radham Karuna Baradram Tatoma Manasti Katyena Kapi Tavaivasmi Najivami Tvaivina Iti Vignaya Radhe Tvam Naivam Charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat Pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarazara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varg and all the Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord whom my Dandavat Pranams to all of you. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnavi Namaha. So we're continuing with our reading of Gopi Gita. Why are we reading Gopi Gita? Because our desire is to serve and embrace the Lord. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mataha sarvam pravartante. So, this beautiful verse describing Krishna, Aradayo Bhagavan Rajeshat Tanayas Tat Dhamma Vrindavanam. Who is Krishna? He is the son of Nanda Maharaj. But who worships Krishna with the most perfection? Ramya Kachit Upasana Praja Vaduru Bhagena Bhakalpite. The Bardus of Vrindavan, the Gopis of Vrindavan, they are worshipping Krishna with full completeness, Sharanagat, to the max. So we've described that by going through the Venugit, their Purvarag, by hearing about the Pranaya Gita, their anguished desire to be with Krishna after Krishna sent them back, how Krishna pulled their strong natures and characters out of them to see their nishta towards him. But our path as sadhaks is to follow the path of the gopis. The gopis, it's described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, have the highest exhibition of love known in existence. There is no higher exhibition of love than the gopis. Even Krishna wanted to accentuate that in the minds of the sadhaks by leaving them for 100 years. In Udakyari, he leaves them for 100 years to show humanity, to show the conditioned souls the extremity of their unwavering love for Krishna. They didn't leave their bodies because they knew it would upset Krishna. They so much wanted to leave their bodies because they're anguished in their separation. Although in their depth of their separation, this Mohanakya Mahabhav and Modam, they were uniting with Krishna. But still, their physical bodies or their transcendental bodies were extremely disturbed by Krishna's disappearance. But they didn't leave because Krishna has said, I will return. Simply because of this one expression. And they were thinking, if Krishna returns and we're not here, how will Krishna feel? Everything is focused on Krishna. And those beautiful verses I read through from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela chapter 4, those 63 verses, they're all describing the moods of the gopis' absolute love for Krishna, their unequivocal, selfless love for Krishna. Every single verse is describing that. So how can we not follow in the wake of the gopis' prem? We are following in their anugatya. This is why we're reading Gopi Gita. To catch up their moods, so we also can serve Krishna in a similar, total way. You understand? This is why we follow the gopis. Because the gopis are the ones that love Krishna the most, more than anyone. And this love is the foundation of our path. In the spiritual world, it's described in Jivadharma chapter 16, that in the spiritual world there is only love. There is nothing else except love in the spiritual world. But in this material world, it seems the opposite. There's everything else except love. That's why we are hungry for that love. So we experience it in different stages. But if we catch up the path of the gopis and what was their love, and that example is what I want to follow with my life and soul. I want to follow the path of the gopis' prem. If I'm hearing about the gopis' prem, if I'm remembering about the gopis' prem, so these 5 Gits are principally about the separation moods, which accentuate the extraordinary nature of their love in desperation, in that separation mood. It's not that separation is higher than union. Actually, they're both the same. Ultimately, my Gurudev used to say, meeting is the pinnacle and separation is the highest. So what do you make from that? They're both the same. And I've explained in detail why. Because they both, in the height of that prem, they both have the same exhibition of these Asta-sattvika bhavs. These 8 bhavs are blazing in both of these extreme conditions. When they're in separation, full mohanakya mahabhav, mohan. This mohan separation, these 8 sattvika bhavs are fully blazing. And remember, I described the 5 stages, domyata, jvalita, dipta, udipta, sudipta, these 5 stages of these degrees of intensity of sattvika bhava. This is all explained in the Rasa Tattva section of Jivadharma, which we've just been through. So that state of mohan is the same intensity as the state of madan. It's the same. The extremity of the bliss is the same. But the build-up to that separation is different from the build-up to the union. In the separation mood, which we're hearing about now, because this Gopi Gita, when we're going to come to it in the tomorrow, we'll probably actually come to the first chapter of the Gopi Gita. Now we're discussing the introduction. But understand why we're discussing it and what is the significance of it in our own lives. We want that mood that the gopis have. We want that gopi prem. That is going to be accessible for us. We can come to that. Actually, in this birth, we can come to the stage of bhav. We've said this many times. You can't experience prem in this birth. Your body would explode. It doesn't have the adhikar, the capacity to hold prem. But bhav bhakti we can come to. And simply bhav bhakti, when we read the description, is when we look with disdain upon liberation. Have I thrown liberation out the door yet? Or am I still got something in my pocket to be happy here? Somehow or other, I want to make some nice situation where the kids are happy, mother's happy, everyone's happy, my bike's working and everything. Do I want to come to that place more than I want to come to understanding the path of the gopis praying? It has to be absolutely ekantika. It has to be one-pointed, not spread around. And it takes time. It takes time. But we don't have so much time. We should consider how much time we have. I explained the other day how this window of Mahaprabhu's mercy is very brief. It's not a huge window. And if we've been fortunate to hear this, we have to pray to become sober. What does sober mean? It means coming down from the intoxication of the material sense gratification. That's what sober means. And certainly chanting Harinam in a fixed, regular number of rounds daily, this is going to sober up the consciousness. It's going to take away the desires for anything in this material world. Did the gopis have any desire in this material world? Completely the opposite. Their every atom was only focused on pleasing Krishna. And who is that supreme gopi? Is Sri Radhika. So we are taking shelter of Sri Radhika principally. This is our Nishta in this Gaudiya line, is Radha Dasyam. So this is why we're studying this Gopi Gita. So I just wanted to say that to people, just to put it in place, put all the dots together, so we know where we're going. So, yes, in this particular part of the introduction, my Gurudev is reiterating the aspect of Pranaya Gita. Now, we've been through Pranaya Gita. You remember Pranaya Gita when Krishna sends the gopis home after coming. So, and the gopis have countered Krishna by saying that if you are Narayan, if you are God, then our service is to serve Guru and you. So you can't send us home. And with this they defeat him. Krishna has no words. So, I just read that previous paragraph which we read yesterday. Our second consideration is this: we know that God is our Father, God is our real husband, and God is everything. So if you are God, then you are both our husband and our Guru. In every way, if you do not accept our service, you will be guilty of acting against the principles of religion. They caught him. He can't. Krishna doesn't lie overtly. He might secretly lie, but not in this regard. He does break dharma, but at the same time, it's all in the pure direction. You are giving us instructions on religious principles, but you should practice it yourself. This is what they say to him. At last, the rasa began. Krishna danced with Srimati Radhika in the center of the circle of gopis. Why did he dance with just Radhika? She is the manifestation. All the gopis are the Kaya Vyuha. They're all coming from Radhika. But something happened. We'll explain. He danced with each of the gopis comprising the circle. It was not that he expanded into as many manifestations of himself as there were gopis, because in Vrindavan all his pastimes are free from the mood of opulence, Aishwarya. It's a very important point to appreciate. I've said before, I hope you remember. Rather, he danced so quickly, like a firebrand, orbiting in a circle. You know, if you have a ember or a piece of rope, you spin it round, it looks like a complete, just one circle, doesn't it? It looks like a single circle, but it's actually coming from one point. But it's describing a circle. So Krishna was like that. This is how Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur described it, and my Gurudev described it. Because if Krishna manifested expansions from himself, that would be called Aishwarya. and that's breaking the Nara Lila mood. Understand, these moods are very subtle, and they create a fabric of speciality. So when Krishna is following carefully that Nara consideration, then this subtle fabric is in place. It's like sound, for example. It's like when someone is speaking, there's a certain atmosphere that can get created by the speaker, a mood. But if someone chooses to break it with a discord, the whole thing will just crash, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like a very subtle thing. I can remember one time in Vrindavan, during a parikrama, we were all sitting on the stage having a pravachan. My Gurudev had left. But then someone from the audience stood up and was accusing the leaders of embezzling my Gurudev's funds, like right in the middle of the pravachan. And it was like crash, 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 crash. All that subtle environment that had been built through the kirtan, through the different speakers, etc., just collapsed because this harshness just came in. Do you understand what I'm saying, the mood? So all of these moods in the Ras Leela, they're all built like that. They're all very profoundly based, and everything has to be completely correct for it to be fully tasteful for Krishna. Mahaprabhu would never accept any rasabas. If there was some sort of even hint of rasabas coming from someone's poetry, etc., he would discard it, and Swarup Damodar would always check before. He never let it come in. So this rasabas has to be very careful. So this dance is manifesting. So at last the ras began. Krishna danced with Srimati Radhika in the center of the circle of gopis. At the same time, he danced with each of the gopis comprising the circle. It is not that he expanded in as many manifestations of himself as there were gopis, because in Vrindavan, all his pastimes are free from the mood of opulence, Aishwarya. Rather, he danced so quickly, like a firebrand orbiting in a circle, that it simply looked as if he were constantly and simultaneously dancing with each and every gopi. Had he expanded into many manifestations of himself, this pastime would have been Aishwarya Lila. Instead, he was engaged in human-like pastimes of Nara Lila. Many commentators have written that Krishna manifested his Kaya Vyuha, direct expansions of his personal form, when he was dancing in the Ras Leela. But Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this is not so. He refutes the idea that the expansions of Krishna's form perform this pastime, asserting that if his expansions had done so, it would be a Leela of Vaikuntha. He explains that in fact only Krishna's original form, Swayambhuva, performed this transcendental pastimes. We thus conclude that Krishna moved like a lightning flash from gopi to gopi, dancing with each and every one in turn. So there's a consideration of compressed time in this whole Ras Leela. In fact, because it lasts for the duration of Lord Brahma's night. It seemed like one night, but it was 4,320,000,000 years. So it's described time becomes compressed. So when Krishna was dancing at lightning speed with each of the gopis, simultaneously he was adjusting their ankle bells, he was wiping the sweat from their brows, he was relating with them. So it wasn't just saying, hiya, and rushing on. He was interacting with each gopi in a very personal way. He was fixing their belt or whatever. There was an interaction there. It's called achintya. Achintya. As soon as we put it into the achintya realm, where Shanti, we can appreciate this is God's pastimes. At the same time, it is still in the bracket of Nara Leela. This makes it even more achintya. Just like Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill is the most monumental thing you can think of. A little boy lifting a mountain. But nobody thought that Krishna was lifting a mountain. That was why it's not Aishwarya. Nanda Baba thought that it was his prayers to Lord Narayan that was making Govardhan stay above. All that Govardhan had suddenly developed wings again, like previously the mountains used to have wings and Indra chopped them all off. And the Gopas, they all thought that they were the ones who were actually holding. And Radhika, she had told Giriraj, if you drop one mustard seed, I'll incinerate you. So Radhika is knowing that actually it's her potency that's holding up Govardhan. Yeah. Krishna's not doing anything. He's just standing there at the center of attention, playing his flute, being fed by Mother Yashoda sometimes. Srimati Radhika saw that Krishna was dancing with her. Then as she cast her gaze over all the other gopis, she saw that Krishna was dancing with each of them as well. Each gopi thought, Krishna is dancing only with me. This is how Krishna was able to demonstrate his affection, reciprocate with their affection for him, or each single gopi. And Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur describes there were 300 billion gopis. And each gopi was considering Krishna is dancing with just me. So that special, unique bhav of that individual gopi, because every single gopi has a different bhav which Krishna wants to taste. Radhika manifests all these gopis for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna has all these potential rasas within him, raso vaisa, but he can't, this rasa doesn't come out without having its counterpart. To pull it out, we described that the other day. So each gopi has that special, unique mood. She saw that Krishna was dancing with each of them as well. Each gopi thought, Krishna is dancing only with me. Srimati Radhika alone could see him with each and every gopi. Only Radhika had that vision. Krishna's performance of Rasa Leela in this way, manifesting no Aishwarya by bringing forth expansions of his form, but in fact whirling from gopi to gopi, was certainly miraculous. Moreover, he performed many varieties of activities with the gopis as they danced together. He asked one gopi if she was fatigued. He gently wiped drops of perspiration from the face of another and fastened ankle bells on the ankles of another. With each and every gopi, he engaged in various interactions, and thus each gopi became maddened in their love for him. This is the path we are on. We want that madness of the love of the gopis to come into our heart for Krishna. And how can we do that? Only by associating with that personality who has that already, who has that tremendous attraction to Radha and Krishna. Only that way. It can't come any other way. It's like the potentiality for fire is in wood. But can the fire ever come out of the wood without another piece of wood that's already on fire? It can't, ever. It'll just remain dull wood until it rots down, etc. So it's by that association with that fire that the potential within our hearts is going to ignite. And we are also going to become realized towards this love. Initially, it's just the direction, and then gradually we develop that intensity through our practice. Because as soon as we drop the material considerations, something else has to occupy the mind. Think in the day how much of the mind is occupied with material considerations. Imagine if you just pushed all that out the side. You'd have a huge vacancy that has to be filled. So that becomes filled with thoughts on how to please Krishna and Radha. So imagine how much potential time we actually have to please Radha and Krishna. If we can just put that those material considerations, gradually push them back. The gopis' madness here, in which they are intoxicated by their own good fortune, is called Saubhagya Mad. In this regard, Srimad Bhagavatam states, Tasham tat sobagmadam viksya manam cha keshava pashamyaya prasadaya tatraivan taradaya yata yata. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-48. Lord Keshava, seeing the gopis too proud of their good fortune, wanted to relieve them of this pride and show them further mercy. Thus, he immediately disappeared. So this is a quote still from the Pranaya Gita chapter, which was 29. The Pranaya Gita chapter is the first chapter in the Rasa Panchadhyaya. So try to get the sequences in order. There's only 5 chapters in the Rasa Panchadhyaya. So the first one is where the Pranaya Gita is described. And it's only in 10 verses in that chapter. We need to be educated in these topics. It's not such a big deal. You just got to have some interest for it, that's all. What are you going to do? Have some interest. More interest in this than in something else. And a sensitive devotee, why not be more interested in the transcendental realm than what's going on here? What is really important here? One day I'm going to die. That's assured from the time of my birth. So why should I put great stress on accumulating anything? Really and truly. Isn't it? It is stated here that the gopis, as an entire group, exhibited both Saubhagya Mad and Man. However, if we take a closer look at the meaning, it becomes apparent that Man is only exhibited by Sri Radhika. Only she could see Krishna dancing with the other gopis. The other gopis did not see this, and thus they were intoxicated by their good fortune, in which they perceived Krishna dancing with them alone. No other gopi can go in Man the way that Radhika goes. The other gopis do go in Man, very briefly. It's described in Ujjvala Lamani, the different gopis, how Krishna has to satisfy them, etc. But none of them can maintain that Man for very long. But Radhika can maintain it for a day or 2 or even 3 if it's necessary, because she knows that Krishna cannot tolerate being separated from her. But the other gopis, certainly not Chandravali, they kind of know that Krishna will just forget about them if they go into Man. When a hero, Nayak, is controlled by a heroine, Naika, the heroine thinks herself to be the most fortunate beloved. This fortune is called Sobhag, and as it evolves, it brings her to Sobhagya Man. Mad. Generally, Mad means intoxication through drinking, but Sobhagya Mad means intoxication from the pride of thinking. In all of Braj, there is no one equal to me in good fortune. In this state, the gopis become so proud that if they had been aware of Krishna's dancing with other gopis, they would have developed Man. Then, in an angry and sulky mood, they would have been completely unable to continue participating in Rasa Leela with the other gopis. Instead, each gopi was convinced that she had Krishna fully under her control. It's called Swadhina Bhartika. It's one of the heroines, the 8 types of heroines. And Swadhina Bhartika is that heroine that controls her lover. That's when the heroine feels the most satisfied. When Radhika will say to Krishna, put lac on my feet, decorate my braids of my hair, adjust my dress properly. Look, you've made a big mess everywhere, put it straight. And she'll tell him, order him like this. This brings a great pleasure to the heroine. Krishna understood this and considered, I have decided to sport with all the gopis and fulfill all their most cherished desires, but there is no hope of that happening unless they change their mood. Somehow their pride must be removed. He then saw that Radhika was no longer there in the Ras Leela. In her man, she had abruptly left that place and was going elsewhere. Then suddenly, Krishna also disappeared. All the gopis began their search for him. Some commentators say that Krishna became invisible, but Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains he did not. Rather, he went to a nearby kunj and hid there. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is Vinod Manjari in the spiritual world. servant of Sri Radhika, maid servant of Sri Radhika. So and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is described as a replica of Srila Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they're both commentating exactly the same way. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he opens out the writings of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami writes the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu. And then Rupa Goswami writes the Ujjvala Lamani, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives us the Kiran, which is exactly like the Ujjvala Lamani, but a brief version. There were 4 kinds of gopis present in the Ras Leela on the bank of Yamuna. Swapaksh, those in Radhika's own group, Swa. Group is Paksh. Vipaksh, those in the rival group of Chandravali. Surit Paksh, those who are friendly towards Radhika. And Tatashta Paksh, those who are neutral to her party. We should understand that these Tatashta, they're actually more inclined towards Chandravali. So it's like 2 parties are with Radhika and 2 parties are really with Chandravali. Why is my Gurudev explaining this? Because this party mentality had to be purified also. The gopis were each individually thinking, well, I'm in this group, I'm in this group, I'm in this group, etc. So all of that party mentality, that had to be purified for a complete unit to manifest. Then the Ras Leela would reach its very pivot, the very pinnacle, the topmost place. Actually, Swapaksh can refer to either Radhika's group or Chandravali's group. For those in Radhika's group, Chandravali is Vipaksh. For those in Chandravali's group, Radhika is Vipaksh. Shamala is friendly towards Radhika, which means she is neutral to Chandravali. Bhadra, on the other hand, is friendly towards Chandravali and neutral to Radha. Within these 4 main groups of gopis, there are hundreds upon hundreds of subcategories, and all were searching for Krishna. The gopis in Radha's group could not see their Yoteshwari group leader, Sri Radha, so they were searching for her as well as for Krishna. All the other gopis were searching only for Krishna. Interesting. Only for Krishna. The other gopis were searching, but Radhika's group were also searching for Sri Radhika. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 30, describes the gopis' search for Krishna and how they all became tadatmik with him. This means they became so absorbed in remembering his characteristics, such as the way he walked and how sweetly he talked, that they began to think that they themselves were him. So this is described in this chapter 30. The gopis became like mad persons. It's described like a bunch of mad women. This is how Shukadev Goswami describes them. Crying out to the trees, to the creepers, to the animals, asking them all, where is Krishna, where is Krishna? They asked the Tulsi plant, but when Tulsi did not respond, the gopis thought, oh, Krishna has warned her not to tell us where he is. And because she is his beloved, she refuses to utter a word. They asked the trees, but when they did not reply, the gopis thought, these trees are male, and therefore they are Krishna's friends. You see that? This mad, this intoxication. Like Venugit, when they're seeing inanimate objects as animate, like the clouds, etc. They're chastising the flute. This is the madness they reach. This is the love that we want to follow. We have faith in their love. We want to follow in this path, this Gopi Anugatya. When the gopis saw the creepers laden with flowers, they thought, Krishna has touched these beautiful creepers with his fingers, and now they are so happy that they have no awareness of anything external. They cannot speak because they have taken leave of their external senses altogether. So the gopis are seeing the creepers to be like themselves. They've lost the use of their external senses. This is in their this divyan mad, this mad state. At first the gopis concluded that Krishna was not to be found anywhere and that he would not return to them. They were somewhat consoled, however, when they finally noticed his footprints. By the way, when it's described that the gopis imitated Krishna. One would say, oh look, I am Krishna killing Putana. Another would say, oh, I am Krishna killing Bakasura or Agasura. And another would imitate the demon. But it's described by the commentators that Yogamaya provided the gopi to imitate the demon. The gopis themselves could never imitate a demon. They could never imitate Bakasura or Putana. So Yogamaya, she supplies a gopi who will imitate Krishna or imitate the demon so the gopis can perform this pastime. So it wasn't that a gopi was pretending to be Putana. It was a gopi that Yogamaya had manifested. Everything is perfect. It's precision perfect. There's no anomaly. There's nothing incorrect in the whole episode. They were somewhat consoled, however, when they finally noticed his footprints. They followed his footprints for some distance until, to their surprise, they saw another set of footprints. The Vipaksh gopis, the rivals of Srimati Radhika, were trying to guess whose footprints they were. They could see that the second set of footprints belonged to some gopi. They guessed that this gopi must have worshipped God. As a result, she had become so dear to Krishna that he took her with him when he left the rasa dance. They did not think that her good fortune was the result of her worshipping Krishna, but worshipping God. Thus they spoke the following words: Anaya radito nunam bhagavan hare ishvara yanno vihaya govinda priti yam anayad raha. Certainly that particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead, since he was so pleased with her that Govinda abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. Why are they talking about Krishna as being the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He's their dear most beloved. Why are they referring to him in this Aishwarya mood? Remember, I explained before in Pranaya Gita, because in the height of their separation mood, they see both aspects. They see the entirety of this Brahmand with Krishna as the supreme controller, as well as their beloved. They have the ability to see Krishna as Paramatma within the hearts of all. It's saying in the 4th verse here, we'll talk, "O Krishna, you are the Paramatma in all, residing in the hearts of all." But they know he's their beloved. So they don't actually have that Aishwarya, but in the height of their separation mood, it's described that they do see with both visions. Actually, in that separation mood, there is even a broader vision of their affection for Krishna, because it includes Krishna as being, but it's only momentary. It doesn't linger for very long. My Gurudev describes like when that Aishwarya for Krishna rises, it's like if you had 200 liters of milk boiling in a huge pot, and periodically a blade of grass comes to the top of the milk. So that, and then it gets drowned again in the bubbling milk. It's only just for a moment. So it's like that. You just see just for a moment this Aishwarya aspect, and then it plunges down back into the full Madhurya. When Srimati Radhika's Swaparsh gopis saw those footprints, they immediately recognized them, and they were accustomed to serving her lotus feet and knew the symbols of them. Therefore, seeing her footprints next to Krishna's overwhelmed those gopis with joy. So we're so fortunate to have the symbols of Radhika's lotus feet. We have those symbols there. And we have the symbols of Shyamsundar's lotus feet, and of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's, and of Nityananda's. It's a very wonderful meditation to have those symbols and to be looking at them regularly, to be refreshing this beautiful mood of these are the signs on Srimati Radhika's lotus feet. The chakra, the mountain, the altar, etc., the bow. All of these different symbols are there for us to meditate on. We have to know these things. If you want to go back to Godhead, you have to know the symbols on Radhika's lotus feet. You have to learn them here. It's not that all of a sudden by a miracle, oh, I get there now, I know everything. No, we have to do, where spirit soul here, now, this is spirit soul. It's not going to become another spirit soul when you leave your body. You're just going to realize what's already there in the spirit soul. They could see the footprints of the gopi. They could only see Krishna's footprints, which were now an inch deeper in the earth. They assumed that when Krishna and his beloved gopi reached this spot, she had become tired and told him, I cannot walk any further. He therefore took her up in his arms and carried her. Further on, the gopis noticed that in one spot, the upper parts of the creepers were laden with blossoms, but that the lower part had far less, some having been scattered on the ground. From this they guessed that Krishna had seated his beloved in that place and decorated her with flowers. So they're reading clearly all the indications that Krishna has left behind, his footprints, etc. As the gopis proceeded further, they beheld that very gopi alone and completely unconscious of her surroundings. She was rolling on the ground, bitterly weeping. Hey Nata Ramana Prishta, Kwasi Kwasi Mahapuja, Dasyaste Kripanaya me, Sake Darshaya Sanidim. She cried out, O Master, my lover, O dearmost, where are you? Where are you? Please, O mighty armed one, O friend, show yourself to me, your poor servant. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Madhavendra Puri used to repeat this verse, and as they did so, their hearts full of bhava, transcendental mood, tears would pour forth from their eyes. Madhavendra Puri, he writes a similar verse. How's that going? Was that verse? Maturanath? I can't remember. Prishta. Just let me find that verse. It parallels this one. I just can't remember it. I want to know it. So I can't walk past it. Hanata. 337. 337. Aidina Deadrinata he Maturanath Kalava Yokite. Hridayam Tvad Aloka Kataram Dayita Kamyat Dayita Brahmyate Kim Karom Yaham. Madhavendra Puri is saying this as he's leaving his body. This last line, Dayita Brahmyate Kim Karom Yaham. This is saying he wants to be the kinkari. What does kinkari mean? Kinkari are like the maidservants. What does it mean literally? But what does it mean? It means, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? How can I serve? What can I do for you? That's what it means, kinkari. What can I do? What shall I do? What shall I do? Kim karom yaham. So Madhavendra Puri is reciting this verse, which is paralleling this verse, Hey Nata Ramana Prishta. All the gopis, Swapaksh, Surit, Tatashta, Vipaksh, then approached Srimati Radhika and expressed their sympathy, for it is the nature of women to feel compassion for someone weeping. Although Chandravali generally feels envy towards Srimati Radhika, when she saw Radhika weeping and rolling on the ground, suffering more than all the other gopis, even her heart softened. This is what Krishna wanted to arrange. All the gopis have to come together and worship Radhika. They had all been feeling the most profound feelings of separation, searching for Krishna. Madness, like a bunch of mad women searching in the forest, questioning the trees and the animals, etc. And then when they saw the extremity of Radhika's separation, then they realized that she has the highest praying for Krishna. Now, everything is resolved. They all come under worship towards Radhika. Now the Ras Leela can begin, because now they all acknowledge Sri Radhika as the principal lover of Krishna. Another reason Chandravali felt sympathy for Radhika is that she is Radhika's sister. Actually, they are cousin sisters, as their fathers, Chandrabhanu and Brishabhanu, are brothers. Srimati Radhika and Chandravali love each other, but there is also some rivalry between them. Chandravali is a little older than Radhika, but Radhika is more beautiful and qualified in every way. My Gurudev will always say that. Upon seeing Krishna dancing with all the other gopis, and at the same time dancing with her, Radhika had left the Ras dance in a sulky mood, man. Yet when she was alone with Krishna in the forest, she wanted those gopis to be with Krishna and her. This is an example of Vyabhachari Bhav, in which man and other bhavs rise up and subside, and sometimes combine with each other. This is likened to one wave rising up and overtaking another wave, thus causing the water from both waves to merge. After that, the same process is repeated and new waves appear. This is similar to the way in which Radhika's man disappeared due to her being immersed in Krishna's loving dealings with her. She then thought that all her Swapaksh gopis should come together, but since all the gopis were searching together, they all came. So Radhika was feeling some separation from her Sakhis, and she wanted her Sakhis to catch up. That's why she said she was tired and couldn't keep walking anymore. She wanted her Sakhis to catch up. But Krishna knew that if the Sakhis caught up and saw them both together, it would spoil things. They would become envious of Radhika. So Krishna disappeared from Radhika, left her alone in separation. So everything gets accomplished by the single stroke. When the gopis found Srimati Radhika in this condition, they sprinkled some water on her lotus face. When she came to external consciousness, they asked her, "What has upset you? Why are you so overwhelmed and weeping?" She says, "As I was wandering throughout the forest with Krishna," Srimati Radhika replied, "I told him that I was no longer able to walk." Why had she said that to Krishna? It was not due to Saubhagyamad, the pride of her incomparable good fortune. Rather, her deep contemplation was as follows: "My Sakhis have left everything for me. They have no purpose other than to serve me, and yet I am here enjoying Krishna's company alone. This is not at all fair. If I arrange for all of them to come and join us, we can all enjoy Ras together. I should not be with Krishna alone." In the meantime, the other gopis had been gradually coming nearer and nearer. Krishna told her, "Quickly, come with me." She said, "But I cannot see you," Radhika cried. Radhika's condition at that time is called Prem Vaichitya. Krishna was actually sitting with her and worshipping her, yet she felt an intense mood of separation from him. She was unable to perceive that he was sitting right beside her. As the gopis came closer, Krishna thought, if they see us alone together, they will become envious of Radhika and everything will be spoiled. There will be no Rasa Leela. I cannot let this happen. At that very moment, Krishna disappeared from that place and hid himself in a kunj, somewhere in the darkness. Radhika fell to the ground in distress, and it was then that the gopis found her. "What happened to you?" they now asked. Somewhat hiding her real bhav of selflessly wanting them to also dance with Krishna in Ras Leela, she simply told them, "I became maddened with the pride of my good fortune, just as you did. Now he has left me as well." Then, as one collective party, now all the gopis are together. They're all a collective party honoring Radhika. The gopis began to search for Krishna. Finally, they decided the only way he could be found would be through Sankirtan, chanting his glories in a mood of deep separation from him. Thus they returned to the bank of Jamuna and began to sing, "Jayati Tedikam Janmana Praja Shrayata Indira Shashvadatrahi Daita Drishyatam Dikshutavakas Tvaitridashavas Tvam Vichindate." So now they all perform the first Sankirtan in existence, which is the Gopi's separation from Krishna. So look at the intensity that has led to this Gopi Gita. They've become demented. Can you imagine, all of a sudden, just think for a minute, imagine if you were suddenly dancing with Krishna. How wonderful it would be. And then just in a moment, Krishna left. How devastating it would be. It tipped them over the edge. That's what Krishna wanted, to go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. Always go deeper. What is the depth of your love? I want the very core of your love. And this is what we are following. We are in the anugatya of the gopis training. This is why we're reading this and hearing this Gopi Gita. So tomorrow we'll start with verse 1. So this was just the introduction. And I've tried to put things in context along the way so we get because everything, I started this evening by saying that beautiful verse, Aradayo Bhagavan Rajesha, Tanayas Tat Dhamma Vrindavana. My Gurudev says if you don't know this verse, you're not really his disciple. This is such an important verse because it contains all the Praman in 4 lines. The first line, who is Krishna? He's the son of Nanda Baba, Tanayas Tat Dhamma Vrindavana. And what is the nature of Vrindavan? It describes it there beautifully. And who worships Krishna the most? Ramya Kachit Upasana Braja, Bardu Vragena Kalpite, the wives of Vrindavan. They demonstrate the highest worship. And what is the praman for this? Srimad Bhagavatam Pramana. Amalam Prema Pumratonata. This is the Amala Purana, the highest Purana. It's in Srimad Bhagavatam. And whose opinion is this? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matam Idam Tattadaro Naparaha. This is the opinion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So you're getting these 4 or 5 considerations in one verse. Such a powerful, beautiful, beautiful verse to have in your heart, this verse. Very beautiful. This is written by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
I just wanted to say that I was thinking that also, but then when my friend starts the scholar, he corrected me. He says it's a Srinath Chakravarti, not Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It's a different person. And he gave me proof. I forgot.
No,
actually.
it's...
Srinath Chakravarti. I found later.
I'll just confirm this.
It says Chaitanya Manjusa in this.
Huh?
It says it's from Chaitanya Manjusa by Vishwanath.
By Vishwanath Chakravarti. What page is it on?
14.
14.
Sound like Vishwanath Chakravarti, sound like Srinath Chakravarti.
14. Yes. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Chaitanya Manjusa.
Yeah, I
That's the
have to
book.
find the source from.
But more than find the source,
Yeah.
get the verse in the heart
Yeah.
with the meaning and the essence of it. And my Gurudev says that unless we know this verse, then where does he say it? He says it about this Amnaya Praha, the next verse actually, that we're not really his disciples unless we know this verse. Anyway, but when we get these Gits in context, in balance, in harmony with the rest of the Srimad Bhagavatam, they constitute the life heirs of the Srimad Bhagavatam. They are the 5 essential life heirs of the 10th canto. The 10th canto was described like the heartbeat of the whole Bhagavatam. And the life heirs within the heartbeat are these 5 chapters. The Venu Gita, Pranaya Gita, Gopi Gita, the Yugal Gita, and the Brahmara Gita. So these songs of separate. Why are they the life heirs? Because they're showing us the extremity of the gopis' love for Krishna. That's what we're trying to connect with. Especially this Brahmara Gita at the end. This is when Krishna's gone away for 100 years. That Brahmara Gita is heart-rending. All the Gitas are heart-rending. Where does it take us to though? It takes us to an appreciation of the height of the gopis praying for Krishna. And that's the praying, that's the only way to access Krishna. You cannot access Krishna without the gopis' mercy. Impossible. How would it be possible to go to Krishna? Hi Krishna, who are you? Do you know about the gopis? Oh no, not much. But
So the way Radhika is waiting for and advocating for the gopis, she's also doing for us.
Say that again?
The way that Radhika is waiting for and advocating for the gopis, she's also doing for us.
Doesn't say that explicitly, but you can say like that.
I'm just putting other things together that I can.
Yes, well you can say like that. But everything has to become, at one point, only a consideration for the hearts of the gopis. And we should be considering at some point, I have the potentiality to be a manjari, not a gopi, a manjari. There's a big difference. So if I acknowledge that reality that is there, then I associate myself with the gopis more than like a suffering conditioned soul. Understand what I'm saying? Understand?
Question was Madan and Madan.
Madan and Mohan. We say Madan Mohan.
Yeah.
Madan Mohan. Madan is meeting, Mohan is separation. Madan Mohan. We have the two combined together. Madan Mohan. What does it mean?
Yeah,
Madan is Madanaki Mahabhav, Mohan is Mohanaki Mahabhav. Meeting and separation. What, you had a question? Huh?
It's interesting also that Madan and Mohan are so balanced.
So what?
Balanced.
Balanced.
Yeah, like you said, the bliss is the same whether in separation or meeting, and Madan and Mohan.
Yeah, but it's also, it's the same pitch of bliss, but the distinctions are vast, you know, in their dynamic, so to speak. We're going through the separation Geets. That's what the Geet means. It means the separation song. We're not going through. It's included in the union of the Ras Leela itself. It has to be there. The actual final Ras Leela pastime, that's there. That's the union. And for the sadhak is always experiencing this vipralamba. It's like, who is our bhajan shiksha guru? Is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he is practically in Puri, always in vipralamba bhav, in the Gambhira. That's, my Gurudev says, practically he never meets Krishna after the age of 24. I think maybe 2 pastimes when Krishna actually appears in the Jagannath Vallabha gardens and in fragrances everywhere. But practically he doesn't have union with Krishna, but always he's wanting that union. So it's always this mood of separation. So Mahaprabhu is our bhajan shiksha guru. He's showing the mood of bhajan in separation. We are always in separation, but we never want separation from Radha and Krishna. There was a time when a discussion came up that is meeting higher than separation, and some people were thinking, oh, yes, separation is higher. Does that mean that the gopis want Krishna to be separated? Lalita and Vishaka, they're trying to arrange for Krishna to be separated because they think it's higher mood? No, always they want meeting. But there has to be separation, just like there's day and there's night. The night enhances the day. There's hunger and there's satisfaction with food. There's black and white, etc. These contrasts heighten each other. So meeting and separate. You can't have meeting without separation. Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj especially describes this, that separation nourishes the mood of meeting. You can't have the meeting. You can't sit down to a feast and enjoy it if you're not hungry. How can you? You just play with it. There has to be hunger.
You're saying your Guru Maharaj said something about the pinnacle and stuff you would describe.
Pinnacle and the topmost. In other words, they're the same.
Yeah.
2 words that mean the same. They're both, because they both have the same ultimate 8 Astasatvika bhavs blazing. Both of them. That's the height of the prem experience. But the path to get there is different. We'll stop. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Gaura Haribol. Nitai Gaura Haribol, 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 Gaura Haribol, Gaur Premanande, Haribol, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhuvevacha, Patitanam Pavnibhyo Vaishnaveno.